Welcome back. As we've mentioned earlier, criminal syndicates are now targeting followers of traditional African belief systems. All right, we'll be talking about this worrying development with the head of product development at the South African Fraud Prevention Service, Nazia Karrim. A very good morning to you, Nazia. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, South Africans are deeply connected to their culture and cultural beliefs, of course. So do explain to us how these scammers use these beliefs to con unsuspecting victims.
Well, unsuspecting victims are actually lured into this actual scam by false prophets and corrupt or fake traditional healers who claim to have actually received some form of divine message or communication from ancestors that need to be urgently addressed with the victim so that they could be cleansed of any issues they may be currently experiencing in their life, and that the ancestors can bless their way forward in order for them to be successful. And this belief in that tradition, in that culture as an African belief system is what the scammers are now choosing to manipulate. In addition to our emotions, they are using our actual beliefs to manipulate our actions further.
But then how do they go about doing that? What's their modus operandi?
Well, they actually come up to you, and after they inform you that they've actually had this meeting with your ancestors, that you need to come forward and meet with them and discuss this with your ancestors. They inform you to visit them at their lairs or their dens that they've created and set up, and it looks almost genuine, like any other sangoma or traditional healer. When you go to the place, they feed you with hallucinogens to dull your senses, and it creates this illusion that you're actually seeing or hearing your ancestors speak to you. And by the time you actually leave that place, you are so convinced that you have had some form of interaction with them. They go even further by trying to convince you by giving you actual cash that they claim was a gift from your ancestors to help improve your current circumstances. And so now you are so convinced that you've been blessed with this money, plus you've spoken to them about this affairs that have been happening in your life. The scammers take it the next step and inform you that you now need to go and withdraw all your savings that you've been saving for a while, your cash your pension out, come with the money in cash. And it's very specific that they tell you to bring it in cash, pack it in a bag, and on your next visit when you come, the ancestors will remove any other issues in your life. You'll be cleansed of all the trouble. And when you leave here, that money in that bag is going to be double or triple the value. And then you'll be able to move on with your life successfully. And this is how they manipulate the victim into believing that, yes, this is for real. This is something that I can trust. It is something in my belief system, and I'm going to partake in this process. And in the end, they get scammed of everything they have.
Sure, and it's so worrying that we are all gullible to this. I mean, some of us would love to know what our ancestors would like to say to us, and of course, we just need that financial relief of some sort. And how do we know how big the scam is, and are the authorities even aware of this scam?
Yes, the authorities are aware of the scam. They are busy investigating. In fact, SAFPS works in conjunction with the DPCI's 419 scams team and the South African Cyber Fraud Task Teams to help address these issues. And the information comes through for us to be able to inform the public and create this awareness.
Because we now have Nazia Karrim to elaborate further on this scam. Remember, she's the head of product development at the South African Fraud Prevention Service. And, she's speaking about these ancestry scams. You're just taking us through whether the authorities are aware of this particular scam, Nazia. Unfortunately, we just got cut off earlier.
No, sorry, change of network when load shedding takes place.
Yeah.
So yes, the authorities are aware of it. Like I mentioned a little earlier, we are working with the DPCI 419 scams team and the South African Fraud Cyber Task teams to to actually work and identify these syndicates, hopefully apprehend the syndicates. From our side, we actually use the information that we receive to create awareness to help possible targets prevent themselves from actually becoming victims to the crime. And an initiative like this is one of those that will help us create that awareness and let people know of what's happening so they don't actually fall victim to the crime.
Nazia, tell me, is there an umbrella body that sort of regulates the work of sangomas so that we could possibly, report these fake sangomas to them?
Yes. So part of the requirement is that when you are approached by these people, I think you need to question. The first thing is, why is somebody that I have no relationship, I don't know, I've never met before, why are they approaching me on matters that are personal to me? Also, if you're going to go to these to the sangoma, to the traditional healer, do your due diligence and check. They should be registered with the traditional healers organization. You should go and check on their website if their certification is valid. Did they actually produce a certificate for you to see when you actually visited them? These are steps that you can take to make sure that you don't actually fall victim. In addition, as part of the actual prevention and awareness program, SAFPS has a dedicated website called YIMA. As we know, YIMA means to stop. And it's dedicated to scams. And the whole idea behind it is think before you act. And on this site, you'll be able to check whether or not you are actually being targeted for a scam. And you can go through the process. And if this particular scenario is what's happening to you, you'll be able to see what the agenda of the actual scammer is and how you can go about preventing yourself from becoming a victim. I think what we need to understand is that in many ways, fraud is just as gruesome as violent crime. It doesn't leave you with a physical scar that may heal and disappear over time. It actually mentally messes with your mind. And this is something that the scammers use to their advantage.
Yeah.
It results in you questioning every decision, your ability to make sound judgments confidently, and then you fall victim and you wonder how? What did I do? And the reason you're falling victim is because you didn't do the due diligence. And we are so confident and hopeful, we just fall headfirst into the actual scam without having done those checks.
Yeah, sure. And there's another emerging scam highlighted that involves commodity trading. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, so this actually is a little bit of cross-border activity as well. So
Okay.
it's a scam that is working in conjunction, well, should I say not in conjunction with, is being perpetrated by foreigners, in particular the DRC. Scammers come forward and they pretend to actually be mining executives selling special commodity. It's called a coltan stone, which is a type of commodity that's used inside of your cell phones and almost every type of electrical equipment that we use today. And this commodity has value and it's mined. Then they come forward and they say, listen, we've got this stuff to sell to you. And as an investment opportunity, you can come forward and invest in this particular mining of coltan stones. And as such, you'll be able to make millions out of it. The sad part is they address it very much to targeted victims already in the business community. And their ruse is so well constructed that even educated businessmen and businesswomen are falling victim to this crime. Fake testers are involved that produce fake certification of the actual commodity that's produced for sampling. And in the end, the victim lands up paying millions and millions of rands over for fake verifications, tax purposes, excuses that the scammers keep providing need to be done for compliance and governance purposes. But in the end, when the victim finally realizes they have run out of cash, they can't bankroll these certifications or governance requirements anymore, that it was in fact a scam. And then the guys disappear with the victim's money. And in many cases, it's hard to come forward and identify it because the victims are so embarrassed, it's hard for them to come forward and report it. And we don't get that information to then be able to allow us to apprehend
Yeah.
the scammers.
Now, Nazia, do we know who's running these scams? I mean, have they been identified?
That's part of the requirement why we're saying we're making the appeal to victims, come forward and report.
What should people look out for then when they suspect that they are being scammed? Just briefly.
Well, like I said, the first question is, how do random people have my information? Am I getting the information verified before I action on it? Should I be trusting somebody I don't know with money, with financial decisions, with health decisions that are happening in my life or my family? Rather go through the authorities that we know are regulated and we can actually trust and follow up on. Take the time to protect yourself, empower yourself with the knowledge and the tools so you don't fall victim.
All right, Nazia, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for opening our eyes to these scams. And it's been an absolute pleasure having this conversation with you. That was Nazia Karrim, the head of product development at the SAFPS, speaking to us about an elaborate sangoma scam to steal money from unsuspecting residents.